And welcome, everybody. And make sure you hit that like, share, retweet buttons. Welcome to All About the Birds mid-season review show. So, Eagles 3-4-1. They're on the bye this week. Johnny Ulecka, Phil Stifle, Jeff Warner, and one of AAT Bird writers, Chip. Is it Kyrgy?
Keggy.
Okay.
Not even close.
Way to prep Johnny before we went live.
I'll tell you what, I've heard worse.
That is true. You know, every last name gets butchered at some point in time.
Exactly. But we're here to break down.
I've never heard the R. That's new.
That's okay. So I could say what my last name has been said.
Letters in there.
But thanks for everyone for joining us. We're gonna break down the first half of the Eagles season. We got a lot to go, a lot to talk about. And the first thing I want to say is thank you to everyone joining us. But make sure you hit those like, retweet, share buttons. We appreciate it. But the thoughts about the first half of the season. You know, Eagles are 8 weeks in, 8 games, 3-4-1. Now, the last season and 2018, the first 8 games, they were 4-4. So you're just about the same as what you were the last 2 seasons. What does that say? What does it say with the progression? There's a lot of issues, a lot of things, but what are your guys' thoughts on we can go one by one, your thoughts about the first half of the season?
The first half of the season has obviously not gone as most of us expected. Most of us looked at this schedule, the line, the order of the games, and thought the front half of the schedule is where a bulk of our wins were going to come from. If you look at, we'll break it down later, what the rest of the season, has entailed. But if you look at the rest of the schedule, it's really the difficult half of the schedule. So I don't remember exactly what we had during our preview show, but I'm sure most of us thought we were going to win 4, 5, 6 games to start the season. And that's not where we're at. And that's the instant reaction is we've really left a lot of wins on the table, and we've really disappointed at this point. So that's my biggest takeaway from the first 8 games is how disappointing with the competition we've played.
Go ahead, Chip.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You look at this team, and exactly like you were saying, you were supposed to win against the Washington no-names. You were supposed to win against the Cincinnati Bengals. You were never going to win the Ravens game. We all chalked that up to a loss the day the schedule came out. But for us to be, with the record that we have right now, shows my biggest issue, which is lack of progression, lack of organizational development. We are stuck playing season to season and playing game to game rather than going, how do we get better to build this for a 4, 5, 6 year run?
Well, that comes down, if that's the biggest issue, that comes down to coaching and the higher up management of this team. And I was just watching another show, Heat Ratio show, before we came on, and I commented on their show, the leash from winning a Super Bowl or any title in any sports is always too long. I'm not saying fire Chip Kelly or fire Chip.
We got rid of him already.
But I'm thinking Chip Kelly. Sorry, I'm not saying fire Howie Roseman or Doug Peterson right this second. But the leash does get left too long when you win a title in a sport. And when do we decide how many years in a row do we have to be mediocre and fight and claw to get into the playoffs before we say maybe it's time to start changing some things up and all?
And my question that goes with that, Phil, is the year that we won the Super Bowl, was it that we were that good, or was it that we caught lightning in a bottle and won the thing? Because if he's got this long leash because of the fact that he just won a Super Bowl, well, he won a Super Bowl with a not great football team top to bottom.
Wasn't a great football team, but he made all the right moves that offseason that gelled together as a unit. I don't know if I feel Nick Foles caught lightning in a bottle. Obviously, no one expected a backup quarterback with Foles to perform the way he did in that playoff run. But overall, as a team, they just gelled together that Super Bowl run. And I'll say ever since then, Howie in the front office, they haven't made the right decisions and the right personnel decisions when it comes to assembling this football team. And I kind of feel Howie's and the front office and and I don't know if Doug has any input on this at all or anything. We don't know who does. We don't know who has the control. But I would say we feel that they're rewarding these past guys for their contribution to winning the Super Bowl by allowing them on this team way too long and giving them horrible deals, which now puts them in cap hell. And now I'll say you're talking about the progression and what the future behold. I would say how we're going to build towards the future. Right now, I don't know how we're able to build towards the future. I would say we have too many horrible contracts. We're in cap hell next year. I know we keep on hoping.
We've been talking about that for 10, 12 weeks now.
Exactly. Yep. So I'll say, and that's why it's so critical. I would say to this draft this next April to build that team. But for right now, I'll say I just don't see this team as a Super Bowl contender or really a deep playoff contender. I would say even in the beginning of the season, every one of our guests I asked them, do you feel that this team is assembled to make a playoff run, or do you feel that this team is considered a Super Bowl contender? And everyone we asked basically said, no, this team is not built. And that puts a lot of blame on Howie. That puts a lot of blame on Jeffrey Lurie allowing Howie and Doug Peterson to assemble this team the way they did. So
look at this comment from Benny. Look at this comment from Benny. Doug's playbook is too basic. So now Chip brought it up that we haven't progressed and nobody has progressed. Well, Doug hasn't progressed. He caught lightning in a bottle just like the players did that Super Bowl season. But in 2016, no one was banging down the door for our coaching job. Okay. Doug Peterson was the fifth, sixth candidate that they finally got to take the job. And we all bashed Howie before that Super Bowl. I don't know about you guys, but I was bashing Doug every single week in 16 and 17 for bad decisions. Yep. Again, caught lightning in a bottle in 2017. He hasn't progressed, just like the front office hasn't progressed, just like the players haven't progressed.
I think the way you look at it and the way this first half of the season has gone is it's very underwhelming. The team just hasn't, played the way you think. A game that you think that they're going to have, to start the season up 17-0 against Washington, and the lead just goes to nothing, and you lose that game. And the other thing that you have to look at, I understand not getting enough out of these older guys, older contracts, but the one thing all these injuries have done is potentially giving you guys like Travis Fulgham, like Jordan Mailata. You have these guys, these younger players like an Alex Singleton, T.J. Edwards. You have these players that you may be able to have these younger guys that you have some future with. Now, you have to stay healthy with the Miles Sanders and all these guys too. And Wentz has to get back on track. Hopefully, I know someone commented about getting rid of Wentz. Well, you can't get rid of Wentz because
and you're not going to.
You're not going to. And that's the one thing that they have to. Wentz has to find it. Yes, he's struggling. I understand he's a fifth year. He shouldn't be struggling like this. Shouldn't be regressing like he is. Everything like that. But the thing is, other quarterbacks, high-profile quarterbacks, you look back at Peyton Manning, you look back at Drew Brees, back when they were in their mid to late 20s, they've had bad seasons too. McNabb in 2003 had an awful start to the season and didn't have a great season. He had an awful start too. So you're stuck with it. The whole bench. No, I wouldn't bench Jalen, for Jalen Hurts. But my thing on this season, the way this season is, yes, it's underwhelming. Doug needs to, to say it nicely, get his head out of his ass and, be a little bit.
I don't think that's a very nice actual way to say it.
No, that's the way to say it. We're the Philadelphia Eagles fans. That's the nicest way you could say it.
Yeah, and the thing is, in 2017, and I don't like to bring it up, but who did Doug have? DeFilippo and Frank Reich. I feel like
he had an offensive coordinator, he had a defensive coordinator. He had actual coordinators. He had people specialists that are all pointing in different directions.
Right. As a head coach in the NFL, your job is to manage the field, right? Your job is not to call offensive plays and go through all these things. It works for somebody like Andy Reid because that's what he's always done. And he changes his plays every year. And he's got an electric quarterback and he's got speed on the field and he's got the pieces that he needs for it to work. Doug Peterson doesn't. Doug Peterson has what's at the bottom of the practice heap scrap pile, and it's worked because you've got guys that are hungry to play. You've got guys that want to be on the field and make a name for themselves. You lose that as soon as you put some of these aging veterans who have expected spots on the field again. You know what I mean? The perfect example, and I wrote an article for us this week about it, is this loyalty towards aging veterans hurting this team? Yes. Jason Peters happened to make it through a full game this time. You know what I mean? He happened to make it through a full game. We all saw that when he got limpy on one play, we're like, oh, we knew that was going to happen. But Jordan Mailata was hitting his groove. And for them to move him over to the right side because, Lane Johnson was out, it makes sense for that game. But Johnson comes back. Peters is healthy. How are you going to sit Mailata on the bench right now when you sign Jason Peters to play guard this season? But because because he's the bodyguard, because he's the best left tackle the Eagles have had since Trey Thomas? I mean, I get it.
I switched hats because you talk about giving the aging veterans. Same thing happened with the Phillies. They gave Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, Jimmy Rollins, Carlos Ruiz.
And they got
all those guys. And look what happened. We still have not recovered from that. And there is no salary cap in baseball.
It hurts me. It hurts to watch.
Back off of Phillies hat back off.
It hurts to watch players that we love decline. You look at it like a grandparent, right? And a grandparent all of a sudden is on their decline. You're like, oh, they can't take care of themselves anymore. That's how I feel about Jason Peters. And it's awful because when he came in, he was a monster. And for season after season, it was incredible. And he will go to the Hall of Fame someday.
Yeah.
But right now, he's not what this team needs. Exactly. Right now, Alshon Jeffrey being on the field is not what this team needs.
He's not going to step on the field anymore, just so you know. I agree. He will not step on the field once this season for the Eagles.
If he does, it is a horrific mistake. Yeah, if Deshaun Jackson isn't put on injured reserve and kept there, it's a horrific mistake. Taking reps away from these guys is a bad call.
I love this. I have not heard this rumor, but this is hilarious. No, wouldn't be surprised if they tried to do it with Hakeem Butler and all.
They got Bloom and Kroon back on the practice squad. Yeah. You can put
So we can also talk, how bad the team is, and then you talk about this comment here from Mr. Seaway Science.
That's Conaway, my co-teacher.
I'm sorry?
That's Conaway. I teach with him.
Oh, okay, there we go.
There we go.
Thanks for checking in. Having the success elsewhere because other teams have coaches that aren't putting the square pegs in the round holes. They see the talent and they adjust. And it's a problem with a lot of teams in a lot of sports. They don't adjust to their talent, and it's a huge example right here with the cornerbacks. Sidney Jones, I know, was out on fire early. He has come down to earth with Jacksonville a little bit.
Right.
He has had some games where he's gotten beat up a little bit and all. And I'm not sure if Rasul Douglas is still one of the top 10 rated cornerbacks or not, but
he was activated again today.
Yeah, okay. So, I'm not sure where that lies. But, these guys were complete bums, and we all agreed it was time to move on from those guys. They weren't working here. Who else on our team that's not working right now would go elsewhere and have success with a better coaching staff? Nathan Geary, I'm scared Nathan Geary will become, Lawrence Taylor if he goes somewhere else because, obviously we're using him in the wrong way.
What way could you use him?
He does do two things okay.
Misses tackles and misses.
He actually is pretty solid if he knows it's a running play and he doesn't have to worry about covering. And he's actually a really solid blitzer.
So
if he is out there as the fifth guy on a blitz, which we never actually blitz.
He's actually
just go in there and blitz.
What's that? He is what Vinny Curry is on third down. Basically, he is a great downhill attacking player.
I have no problem with him if he's used in the right spot, which he's not. He's not an everyday 100% of the snaps type linebacker.
And the thing is, that's what a good coach, a good coaching staff does. And you need, all these players, you draft certain players, they're not going to fit 100%, like a Rasul Douglas. Sidney Jones had his struggles. But the thing is, if you look at the Eagles secondary right now and how hurt they are, you have Slay there, but then Avonte Maddox has been injured. Nicole Roby-Coleman has not looked good at all. Cre'Von LeBlanc's been up and down. And then, it's just you're pulling up guys from the practice squad, and it's reminiscent of 2018 when you have all these guys that nobody knows or nobody's ever heard about playing in the secondary. Like last Sunday, they had Michael Jacquet because Slay went out with an injury. Right. So they had Michael Jacquet out there, and then he got hurt. And then you have to put put Jalen Mills then out on the edge when that's not really what he's suited for. It's not what we've seen that he's not good at doing. So, it's a lot what Phil said, and being able to fit these players to the best, like fit them into your team, but also know what their strengths are and know what they're going to be good at doing for your team. And that's what Andy was able to do that, and he does it with Kansas City now.
It's the difference in coaching and development versus calling the plays you want to call, right? Perfect example is Carson Wentz, and I've been on this for weeks now. I think Carson Wentz is a really good quarterback. Now, like we've said, he's regressed this season. It's very obvious. But Carson Wentz, in the first couple seasons and coming out of college, was an athletic, mobile quarterback. He was never a quarterback that sat and played against Division I caliber teams, because he didn't play Division I caliber teams, and had to read Division I caliber players, which would then translate in the NFL, right? He always played a slower pace of game because that's the team he was on. So why is Doug trying to turn him into a 7-step drop, read the field quarterback? The season we won the Super Bowl, it was all about RPOs, and now the whole NFL knows all RPOs and play action and quick passes. You're telling me that Fulgham can't hit 5 yards, cut in on a slant, and catch a pass? Because if there's anybody that I trust, it's Fulgham. But we don't call that play. Instead, we throw 40-yard bomb after 40-yard bomb to Hightower, who I feel like is the kid from Little Giants. He's like, come on, hands catching toilet paper rolls.
He has a hard time tracking the ball.
I've never heard Little Giants pulled out on a podcast before. I like the reference there.
Thank you.
That works for me. You know?
We use for intimidation.
Yeah.
Spikes and Pee Wee have.
We talked about Hightower on a couple shows before that he shouldn't be. I mean, you give him an opportunity, you don't want to hurt his confidence.
Right.
He's still a work in progress.
He obviously isn't ready yet. He's a 5th-round pick. It's not like he was a top pick that we have to get something out of him right now. You let him develop. And we've never developed a 1st-round or a 2nd-round wide receiver. Why do you think we developed a 5th-round wide receiver at this point?
Right, and that's my question. Why is Rager, with all his speed – there you go. If you watch that movie, it is loaded with star talent. You got to watch that one back.
I love it.
But if you look, Rager was developed and drafted as this track star. He didn't go out for one deep pass on Sunday night, not one. But they sent Hightower on 14 of them.
That's good stat knowledge right there. I did not see that number there. That's
I'm just.
Are you making it up? Oh, okay.
The 14, yes, the 14.
You came off very believable with that.
Listen, I teach middle school. I can embellish with the best of them.
No, the whole Hightower thing is, yes, he has talent, but the problem is he's not tracking the ball. And the thing is, he needs time. He needs an off season. He needs seasoning. He needs a little bit. I understand he's an older rookie. I think he's 24, almost 25. But yes, he can separate from the defense. But if you can't track the ball, almost like a Nelson Aguilar type tracking, where you get lost.
How is he having success right now? I mean, come on.
He is not having success because I needed a streamer in fantasy last week. So I picked him up to play wide receiver last week, and he got 0 passes for 0 yards for 0 touchdowns. So needless to say, I lost last week because I also had Derek Carr as a streamer in place of Deshaun Watson last week.
Right. So you're saying there's a chance.
I went complete Oakland because, as Jason, my boy here, my fantasy football gambling expert show guy, says what's up. He was all over the Raiders last week. So I picked up all Raiders to, fix all my bye week problems. And
so are you blaming him for your loss?
I am blaming him for my loss there, my loss in daily fantasy. I'm blaming him for everything there because I listened to him on that one.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
Yeah, I'm not too happy there with him. All right, Johnny, keep leading the show. Direct it to the next conversational point.
But the thing is, are these issues fixable that the Eagles have right now? Are they fixable? I feel my thing is the health aspect, getting guys back healthy. Hopefully Ertz is back soon in a couple weeks. Does Alshon play? Isaiah what's going on with him? Otherwise, you're getting the guys back. Goddard came back. Rager came back. Peters, okay, yeah, he's back. Or whatever that is.
Give it 5,
but
right?
Lane Johnson coming back. You have guys that are getting healthy and coming back. And I think health is a big key, but also the big key is you need Carson Wentz from the last 4 games of last season to show up in some of these games, hopefully all these games, but you need the Carson Wentz of the end of the Pittsburgh or the end of the Ravens game, those kind of plays, that kind of player. That's what you kind of need. I feel like they are fixable. I feel like they'll win the division, but
and Johnny, that's my question for you. So you're talking about getting all these players back, right? And
it doesn't matter.
You're talking about getting all these players back, and my question, and I'm on the fence about it because I don't know if, like, I'm just going to pick Lane Johnson, for example. He has been beat up since Jump Street, right? He is dealing with everything falling apart. And at what point does pushing him onto this field hurt him for future seasons? And again, it's that playing for this season versus playing for the future seasons. We can win the NFC East, should win the NFC East pretty easily. Even without Lane Johnson, even without Deshaun Jackson, Zach Ertz, Alshon Jeffrey, we should easily win the NFC East. The question is pushing these players in, does it hurt us next year when we have a more focused week 1 strategy on how to run the table in the NFC?
No, that's a good question. And we're joined by one of our other All About the Birds writers, Chris Romanelli. So welcome to the show.
At least you got that name right.
Yeah, you did pronounce that name right, I think.
Yeah.
At least it sounds like it was pronounced right.
Yeah, over here I turned into Chewbacca.
It was right. Not that hard.
That's a good point right there. The best 2 games we played this year were both losses, Pittsburgh and Baltimore. And honestly, Chip, you said at the beginning of the show that everybody wrote Baltimore off as an instant loss.
Absolutely.
I did not. I knew in the beginning of the season, I said they would win one of the Baltimore-Pittsburgh games. And as soon as we lost to Pittsburgh, I just assumed we would beat that Baltimore team then. So I'll say that I actually thought we'd beat Baltimore there.
But I always want them to win. That's always exciting. But my logic was always going to be, we don't have a linebacker at all. How are you going to stop Lamar Jackson? And he ran. I think he's still running against Geary.
Probably.
But, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about the issue?
I'm normally the only joker. They're not used to extra jokes on this show here.
Sorry, I apologize.
I'm normally telling the jokes, not laughing at them. So.
But what do you guys think about the issues that this team has? Are they fixable for the stretch run of the season?
I mean, I think they're fixable. I mean, I've seen a lot in this team. And again, this team is 3-4-1. You are what your record says they are. But again, it's not going to take 10 wins to win this division. So if we get 3 more wins or 4 more wins, we could still win this division. And then going to the playoffs, as Chip said at the beginning of the show, you catch lightning in a bottle. Who knows what happens once you get to the playoffs? You get a home field game, which we're going to talk about the home field advantage and fans being back with Chris here in a moment and all. You just don't know what can happen. Seattle, back in the day when they had 7 or 8 wins, they won a game, they scared. The Giants won a Super Bowl as the 6th seed once.
I was just going to say, is this team any worse than the 2011 Giants?
No, exactly.
I think they are because of straight up quarterback play. I think straight up quarterback play right now, that they are worse because at least Eli led the team. Right now, there's way too much conversation about whether or not Carson Wentz should even be on the field. Now, we sitting here all know the answer is yes. Jalen Hurts is not ready to be an NFL quarterback. Right now, he's being used as a decoy, if that. Right now, they're putting him on the field just to say, hey, our 2nd round pick is on the field. Right?
Agreed. Yes.
But that team, that Giants team that won the Super Bowl, they knew that Eli was their franchise quarterback. There's too much up in the air. And the conversation about, is it fixable for this year? I think it's fixable for this year, but I think you've got to go to the next level. Is it fixable for this organization moving forward? See, I don't want to just win the NFC East. I want to compete in the NFC. I want to compete for home field advantage. I don't want to be a part of the NFC least anymore.
Could you say that this team in the second half of the season will be the first time we have pretty much our full team available for 2020? We
Probably.
were down 9 of 11 starters at one point on offense alone, just on offense.
Yep.
Go to the bye, get your head on straight. Carson needs to get his head on straight. We know he can play better. This is the anomaly, not the norm for him with interceptions. And go out and win the second half. 2013, what were we? 4-4 and we finished at 10-6, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure, but I know that we didn't have the backhand schedule that we do this season. I mean,
how bad is the backhand of this schedule?
Ready? Right. So here we go. I got it pulled up. Ready?
No. I know what the schedule is. But what I'm saying is, I've been saying it since before the season started. The NFC as a whole is not as strong as people think it is. There is literally 2 or 3 holes on every single team that's ahead of the Eagles in the standing. Green Bay's got issues with pass blocking, with running backs and wide receivers. Their defense is okay. Seattle, their defense is not the Legion of Boom or whatever it was called before. The Saints, Drew Brees I probably have a stronger arm right now than Drew Brees, and I haven't thrown a thing.
Michael Thomas too, so I'll say give.
He's missing Michael Thomas, but you can't. You still got to be able to get Michael Thomas the ball.
But to dispute your point a little bit, the rest of the NFC has weaknesses, but the problem is Doug hasn't exploited those weaknesses against these teams. Look at last week against Dallas. They were the 31st ranked defense against the rush, one of the worst defenses in the league, and we even put up 7 points at halftime. I would say that was the perfect opportunity for this offense to come out, coming out party and put up points and see the game or see the play that we expect from Carson Wentz, and we didn't see that. And I would say that's the difference with this team. I would say not all the blame's on Carson, not all the blame's on Doug. I would say this just isn't a very good football team. And I know we keep on saying about 2017, that Super Bowl run. The difference with that team and this team is that was a team that had depth. That was a team with the next man up. You knew what you had, and those guys were able to step up. We thought the season was lost that year when we lost Jason Peters, when we lost Darren Sproles, when you lost Jordan Hick. We're talking about injuries, the amount of injuries we had on that Super Bowl squad. They built depth in that team with that team. Where this year we don't have that, and I don't know if it's because of the COVID situation or just bad decision makings, no one available, whatever. But this just isn't a very good football team.
There's a lot of people available. Just Howie doesn't seem to be pulling the trigger on anybody, whether it's trades to sell or to buy to improve this team. Just the fact that there was not even a rumor yesterday of anybody getting moved away from the Eagles or coming to the Eagles. Just showed how little, and again, it could be COVID. Who knows what it is? But
Phil, let me ask you this: what do we have in trade capital that we could have gotten any of these big name players for?
Well, we got draft picks, obviously.
They're not
we've got like 8 or 9 draft picks next year, and we have some compensation picks. I know Johnny's Mr. Compensation pick. He probably knows how many we've got coming and all.
Yeah, but comp picks, but we only have
I put him on the spot. He doesn't know now,
We have 6.
I know.
I think we have 6 or 7 picks. We have 7 picks. We have no 4th rounder. We have 2 5ths.
And we have a couple of compensations coming.
Yeah,
but anyway, so what we have in trade assets right now. Now I know it's going to upset a lot, and I've got them on when we get into like our surprises, our MVPs, and all. I got them on my list for one of them. Brandon Graham's a trade asset right now. There were rumors that Seattle was interested in him. You could have gotten another player to fix it. We have some blitzing depth. Brandon Graham is probably one of our best players right now, but he's expendable, and he has a huge cap hit next year. You could have probably gotten something for him, or you could have gotten something for Derek Barnett, or you could have gotten something for, Will Parks. You could have gotten something for McLeod. You could have gotten something for – there's a lot of guys you could have traded on that defense that losing them isn't going to make us much worse than we already are on defense.
But the way you think of it, look at it this way. So the Chargers traded Desmond King, who is a very good cornerback. They got a 6th round pick for him. So what were you going to get for Derek Barnett? A 6th round pick? Okay. But Brandon Graham.
I would say in these guys, you could have gotten a player to improve the linebackers or the cornerbacks, or you trade a player for a later pick and then another guy that could have helped now.
Well, yeah, because Howie's history at the trade deadline, he's not the type of guy that does player for picks or anything like that. He's usually a player for a player. Like they got Jerome Harrison, his I think first year as GM, the running back from the Browns. They traded was it Kiko, or I can't remember who was in the middle of the season, but
Kiko Alonso just got traded again.
Yeah, he did. To the 49ers?
I didn't even know he was still in the league.
But I would say he's typically the type of guy, I would say he trades player for a player. So I would say the fact that we didn't trade a guy off for any draft pick compensation, it's not that surprising. But I am surprised he didn't make at least some type of move. The big move was releasing Kroom off the freaking roster.
He's back, so it's okay.
There were rumors that multiple teams made offers for Zach Ertz.
Well, so I want to talk about that for a second. So up until a couple days before, Zach Ertz was not on injured reserve. Then all of a sudden we're starting to get maybe a nibble, and they go, no, quick, put him on injured reserve. It was weird, but Alshon Jeffrey has not been on injured reserve, but has missed every week this season.
Me and Johnny were talking about it before the show that, I can't believe he hasn't been, traded. Like, that's the only reason you keep him active for 8 weeks is if you wanted to trade him. So,
and he's not even close to coming back. Because he's not going to play a snap. Phil, you're exactly right. He's not going to play a snap this season, and I don't want him to.
Yeah, do you want him to take any snap over Travis Fulgham?
Not a single one.
No.
But that's my point.
I don't want him taking snaps over Greg Ward. And everybody knows I'm not a Greg Ward horde guy. I don't want him taking snaps from anybody. Which, by the way, I wanted to rag on Johnny. For those of you watching that were here from the beginning, rewind it back if you weren't. Watch the intro hype video from Johnny. He did have 3 Greg Ward highlights. He made 3 catches in that intro video for a total of 10 yards, I think it was. My math might be a little short, but that is a typical Greg Ward. 3 catches, 10 yards.
Wait, did you just pitch to Johnny? I'm Johnny.
Dude, I love your little Giant reference. We just have a show about football references or lines or something.
Oh, man.
I had to bring it back. I apologize. As you were saying.
Good. No, but you're right, Chris. We don't want anybody getting their snaps taken from by Alshon Jeffries. But this team has proven with what they've done with Jason Peters that they're going to do whatever to put those veterans back out there because they think that's what's going to carry us forward going forward.
Then the amount of money you're paying them, I would say that's what it is. And I would say there's rumors and always reports that Howie's like, hey, we're paying this guy this much, make sure this guy gets on the field, which a load of crap. And I would say, and that's where the disconnect is. I would say you need to let Doug run this team. I would say Howie needs to be a type of guy that's going to handle the money aspect and whatever, selling the roster, whatever. But when it comes to game day personnel and how he's going to perform or what he wants to do on game day, that should be Doug Peterson's call. And I would say, I don't know if the reports or the rumors are true, but if it is, how he needs to butt the hell out. And I would say that's the one thing I would say. Why else would Jason Peters be in there at left tackle over Mailata, who performed pretty well in the absence of left tackle?
I said it. Speaking of Jason Peters, I'm surprised. Like I was watching a lot of football on Sunday leading up to the Eagles game, and when Ronnie Stanley went down and grabbed his knee, the first thought in my mind wasn't, I hope he's okay, which normally that's when any player, whether it's a Cowboys, a Patriots, when I see someone go down, I say, I hope they're okay.
Right.
My first thought was, I hope Baltimore wants Jason Peters. That was my first thought that I wanted.
Right.
Because I was just hoping that was an opportunity to move Jason Peters off this team.
But it wasn't because he had the chance this offseason to sign anywhere.
And he didn't.
Anywhere. And he was sending these workout videos. Oh, look how healthy I am. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. And everyone was like,
Cool
guy. Cool guy. Need another one. Listen, Philly Birds, I'm on it, man. I'm going to get you one. I'm going to sneak it in. They're not even going to know it's there.
But,
you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do it one time. One time, guys. One time. There it is.
Is that a reference? I wouldn't even have
That's
I missed that one,
It's when they're in the locker room and they're all like, we lose all these times.
Dude, I was probably like 40 when that movie came out. So
I got 2 kids, so we've watched it.
It's on Disney Plus. Go watch it.
Yeah, I'm cheap. I don't pay for Disney Plus.
Exactly. But, I want to talk about like the game experience. And I know I want to get Chris in on this. And he's been season ticket holder, so you've been to the games. I want to know what the experience and what it's like down those couple of games that you've been to I want to know what it's like, and what are the fans? Is it making a difference having the small number of fans there?
Well, first off, so I have not, except for the 2 games that were we couldn't go to. I haven't missed a home game since 1992. Wow. So I know what it's like being down at an Eagles game. It's weird. Walking in, there's no tailgating, there's no juice before the game. It's just kind of like you're there, you're showing up. It's like walking into a mall, and the concourse is like a mall. Like when the seniors go in,
walking into a mall.
It really is. Once you're in the state, I think this is the first game they actually had a little bit of crowd noise with the fans that were there, because we were like, they got some crowd noise pumping in a little bit. But it actually is not bad being down there. There is some noise. It's not deafening the way it used to be, but there's a little bit of juice there. It's the 4th quarter of the 4th preseason game throughout the entire game, crowd-wise, every week. But the fans that are there are actually Eagles fans. And I hate to say this, but there is a ton of people that go to an Eagles game that are just there because it's an event. They have no idea. They don't know what's going on. They're at the beer station the entire time. They're not watching the game, and they're not sure. The 6,000 that are there are into the actual game itself. So the fans, they let you go down a little bit. I sit in the lower level, so I'm always about 14 rows off the field. But they used to let fans go down around the bowl before the game, and the players would interact. There's not as much of that. But the first 2 games where there was, I can only imagine what it was like down there when there was nobody in the stadium. It must have been deafening.
So do you think it helps the player, like the players are able to kind of hear? Do you think, because I know some players feed off that. I know it's not a lot of crowd noise, but to know that there's people in the stands watching them, you think it kind of help a little bit?
It does. I mean, 5,000 people, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it does. You do make noise. It is more concentrated in spots. So yeah, I think it does make a little bit of a difference.
You said that they're pumping in crowd noise. I thought on Sunday night it seemed like it was a little louder. Yeah. I just thought the fans were being a little bit more rowdy because it was Cowboys Sunday night football and all.
It was great. There was like very little Cowboys fans there, which was nice.
I did see 2 on TV. Yeah, I 2 on like the opening credit scene.
Yeah, they
2 Cowboys fans.
Was it the 2 that like console each other and she's like, "It's okay, we know the team sucks"? That one.
Yeah, I think it was one of them too.
That guy is never gonna get another girlfriend ever, because never. He might get some boyfriends, but never another girlfriend.
Yeah.
So here's my more like direct, specific question for you. Is it enough so that we've been talking about all these vets being played and all? Alshon Jeffries gets played, say, in the next home game, okay? Yeah. And he drops a pass or gets hurt again. Is there enough noise being made that the players can hear know that you're can they hear 5,000 fans saying you suck or booing whatever and all?
It actually is a little bit more. It's more clear because when the 5,000 are booing, it's a directed boo. When there's a lot of fans that don't boo at all, when it's 60,000 fans, and you'll get that murmur over the stadium. Okay. Is it a boo? What's going on? No, it's much more. You know exactly what is being a cheer, a boo with a smaller crowd base, because there's not that people just talking amongst themselves going on that could drown it out. It's these are the fans that are there.
And this guy sucks.
Right. Yeah. And they let them know they booed going up. We booed going up in the halftime. Get 7 points to Dallas, really? Yeah. It was Ben
DiNucci.
Right.
Who's benched now?
Yeah, he's not even on the team anymore.
His era is already over.
Right. So they heard it.
They heard it. That's good to know that they can actually hear the difference there on the field.
Oh, absolutely, because it's more direct. There's not the 15,000 that aren't even paying attention to know to boo. So they can hear it.
So looking at going into I want to go into the second half. So looking forward into the second half, we'll go with our record predictions, everything like that. But I want to kind of talk about the one player, the one player that needs to step up. Who
Are we
needs
doing
to
this
step up?
outside of Carson Wentz?
I think we can all say Carson Wentz.
Let's say Carson Wentz is the alpha. Who's the next guy?
I know who it is for me.
Doug Peterson.
Well, if we're gonna go players, Miles Sanders.
Yeah, okay.
It's a good point. I mean, he's been hurt, but yeah, it's a good point. I'd go a little bit different. I'd say Javon Hargrave needs to step up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the money you're paying him so far this season, he has 11 tackles, 2 for loss, and everybody said he could play outside, inside. He was a blitz specialist and all this other stuff. He's got 1 sack on the season, and 3 games this year, he has not registered a stat. So just a takeaway from the Carson, who needs to step up. You're paying Javon Hargrave a lot of money. Dude needs – I mean, I know our defensive line's our strongest point, but if Hargrave steps up and plays like his contract is, we're even that much better. So he needs to step up, in my opinion.
Mine is Dallas Goedert, because we are a team that is so centered and heavy around the tight end position. And Goedert went out. And Sunday night he had, I think, 2 targets and 1 catch. Yeah. I want to say it was he was irrelevant on that field.
Was he a decoy though? Because he was coming back so soon.
But,
yeah, that's something I was thinking as well. I didn't even expect to see him on the field too many times because I mean that injury to come back as quickly as he did, that's pretty miraculous almost in an extent because I mean that. That's hard to come back from.
But now we're all sitting here kind of accepting the fact that Zach Ertz is not going to be with the team much longer because
he'll be here this year.
He will be here.
There's talk that by week 11, so he's only going to miss 1 more game, that he might be back by the Browns game.
Right. But you look at what he contributed to the first couple games, and he hasn't really been here yet. But because the conversation has been, well, we have Dallas Goedert who can just step into his place. So if that argument's going to hold true, Dallas Goedert has got to step up the second half of the season to prove that to be true.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, and I have the person who needs to step up is you guys were just talking about, Ertz. Mm-hmm. I understand he's hurt right now, but if you want to go further this season, win games, and go into the playoffs, you need Zach Ertz. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know if he's going to ever get his act together in terms of mental looking like he actually cares a little bit. I don't know, but he needs to be Zach Ertz. You need to have him. You need to be able to run the 12 personnel with Goddard and Ertz and be able to, have more players in the offense for Wentz.
Yeah.
But
Jeff, who's your most?
You guys took everyone off the freaking list.
You got it. Here, hold on. Don't look, everybody. I'll show you my list of other players, and you can pick one. Okay.
I'm gonna go with
I got a list here.
I'll go with Jason Kelce. I'll say the one weakness to our team, especially offensively, is that offensive line. And you expect a little bit more from your all-pro center and the veteran along that offensive line with a lot of those young guys to go be there, be that leader, that unit. And I'll say he's struggled. I'll say there's plenty of those games where he's missing blocking assignments. He's not communicating with the guys to the left and the right of him. And he's the first guy that touches the ball and hands it off or snaps it to Carson Wentz. So I'll say I expected a little bit better play from Jason Kelce because that offensive line was supposed to be one of our strengths. Granted, we were depleted with injuries and a lot of mishap and moving people around, but you expected still all pro level play from him, and he hasn't provided that this season.
Here's another person.
That's a great one.
Jake effing Elliott right there.
Yeah.
The guy is one of the highest paid kickers in the league, and he has missed so many easy kicks this year.
Yeah, what's happened to him?
Well, he was never actually, if you go back and break down his stats, I didn't actually research him for this episode, and my notebook is pretty much shot now. I've got too many notes in it.
He can't read his writing.
He's actually not been that great of a kicker. He made a clutch kick or 2 in the Super Bowl run. And outside of that, he's been pretty inconsistent for the rest of his career.
So I'm going to ask a bigger picture question here because I hear you say that and I look at this team and I go like this. Is the Philadelphia Eagles organization's biggest problem that we are stuck in the past?
Yeah. Well, it's one of the biggest issues, but yeah, it's an issue.
That's why they keep on having all these guys, these aging veterans coming back in this football team consistently.
Jake Elliott, he has one huge kick. He's a local hero. Let's sign him to a huge deal.
Yeah.
Alshon Jeffrey, big season. Deshaun Jackson had big seasons for us. Let's bring him back. Then I have to ask the next question is, what is the criteria for cutting truly excellent players and letting them go? Brian Dawkins, Malcolm Jenkins. You're talking about players that were huge pieces of our team.
They got rid of Malcolm Jenkins at the right time because he is not having a Malcolm Jenkins type season.
But he's been on the field. He's been on the field. How is a team like the Eagles going to cut players that are consistently healthy?
Just because he's healthy,
I don't know.
I think
he's healthy, but he's not Malcolm Jenkins anymore. I have some friends that are in New Orleans, and they're just like, why is he back? I mean, now he could have been more of a linebacker here, and he's actually playing the free safety position in New Orleans, so his role would have been a little bit different. He would have been that hybrid, almost Nate Gary linebacker here, which we all know that would have been a good thing.
But they were paying him that money just for that limited role. So,
money,
but in that situation,
honestly, the money that he signed for in New Orleans is not what we thought he wanted.
He took a pay cut.
Honestly, we could have afforded him once it came out what he was getting paid in New Orleans.
Right. So now you know that's the number. Do you prefer him or Kayvon Wallace? And are you actually going to develop Kayvon Wallace as a player?
Well, that's
are you okay with developing him but benching Mailata?
The problem isn't cutting ties with the vets. It's the problem is that this coaching staff is not putting in the young guys to develop them. Kayvon Wallace, Davion Taylor, Travis Fulgham, Greg Ward, 3 years too late. All these guys that they have that they could develop. Jordan Mailata, the list goes on and on.
Oh, it's fine. Jalen Mills can just play safety.
I hate Jalen. Jalen Mills isn't a safety either. That's another.
You pull Jalen Mills from corner, and then you say Roby Coleman's a corner, and
they're all atrocious.
It's a mess.
The young guys that they draft. If you look, Davion Taylor and Kayvon Wallace, the last game against Dallas, did not get one snap on defense. Neither of them. Why?
Yeah.
Well, I know Kayvon Wallace was coming back from an injury. We know that.
But still,
why are these young, talented players who, at this point, you're going into the bye, they've played 8 games. They should have some on-field experience, even without training camp and preseason games. You should have had some live action experience now. Why are they not hitting the field?
Can I give you a theory that we had before the season? How we drafted for 2021 because of COVID. A lot of these guys were projects that I'm not sure that they totally thought this year was going to happen, and they drafted them for 2021. Jalen Hurts, I
hadn't thought of that, but
John Hightower.
We talked about draft picks not being as valuable because of no 2020. We never thought about drafting for 2021. That's so interesting.
To continue on that point, who's developing those players? Because that is the issue that we continually see. Let's just pick my favorite punching bag, JJ or crap hat. He sucked. He sucked. I don't even want to say his name. He's just who's developing him? He is a second-round pick in his second season. How is he not a better player? Because he's not a good player. So then you have the opportunity to coach him up. Right, to get him to be an okay player, to be a Travis Fulgham. He's getting the same wide receiver room coaching that Travis Fulgham is getting. He's getting the same wide receiver room coaching that Jalen Reagor's getting. So you have to boil it down to he's not a good player, right? Until he goes to Seattle in 2 years, and then he's NFL MVP. We know that.
About him being he's a hybrid tight end. He's not a wide receiver.
Oh, sure.
Someone brought that up earlier tonight, jokingly. I thought. That they said, I'll try to page through it. But, here it is.
Right.
Politero said, there's a rumor that JJ's going to be a tight end,
But who is developing this guy? Who is developing any of our players? If we're drafting for 2021, then this should be a season of straight up development. Mm-hmm. And it's not. It's, we can compete in the NFC East because we can. But it's got to be one or the other, a little bit more one or the other. It doesn't have to be exclusively one. But if you're saying it's to develop these players, then Mailata never leaves the field.
As left tackle.
And the thing is, there's a lot of disappointment in terms of this year. I want to touch back on 2 things. Let's talk a little bit of, something that makes you a little bit, I guess not happy, but who your surprise or your MVPs of this first half. My MVP is Brandon Graham. 7 sacks, 9 tackles for loss. I know one of our other writers made a preview prediction show, and I said that Brandon Graham was going to get his first Pro Bowl and have over 10 sacks this year. He's looking like that's going to be a possibility, but
I think he's got 7 now, so that puts him at what, on pace for 14 sacks this season?
Yeah,
he's going to slow down a little bit, but yeah, he'll have double digit by the end of the year.
But that's Brandon Graham's my MVP. My biggest surprise. I know it's almost like same as everyone's, but I had Travis Fulgham as my surprise. You can name a couple different ones. I know Phil has a notebook filled of different scenarios because he prepares.
You can't read it on the air, but I got it. Dude, I'm more than halfway through this notebook, and the season's only 8 weeks old, just so you know. I'm going to need a new – I haven't bought this many notebooks since, like, elementary school.
Well, who do you guys have as, like, someone that's your surprise and someone that your MVP so far in this first
I'll let you guys – I'll let Jeff go first because I don't want to steal any of the names from him. Jeff, you go, okay? So I have names here, okay?
Fine. I'll say I won't go with the obvious, but just after one game, he was already a drastic improvement over what we had with Nate Gary. I'll go with that. Alex Singleton, even limited role before his playing time last week, he was still making contributions when he was out on that field. But last week, I would say you saw a completely different linebacking core with him out there. He was making plays, he was making tackles, he was making pass deflections and coverage. So I would say he's one guy that definitely I feel is a surprise as a young guy that we're trying to develop for the future that was already making an improvement for this defense.
I'll check his name out. He was on my list. I'll check it off the list.
So let me sneak mine in then. Mine's got to be the Samoan sack stopper himself.
That was the one I was hoping that was left.
Jordan Mailata. and I am copywriting that Samoan sack stopper.
You have his numbers, but see, I looked up his numbers. He's played since week 4 against the 49ers, 100% of the snaps. He hasn't missed a snap. He has 1 penalty against him, 1 false start, and that's it. Okay?
And he's
allowed
project player.
4 sacks he's allowed. He's
at left tackle or right tackle because he got beat up last week.
These numbers count the entire season.
Okay.
So 1 false start and 4 sacks the entire season, and that's it.
And I think 2 or 3 of them were in the Dallas game.
Yep, exactly.
You know, he's been amazing, and he was a project player. You know, for the first couple of seasons when we couldn't get him on the field, I just went, okay, rugby player, give him number 48 and put him at fullback. You know, that'd have been a good use for him.
It's actually a really smart play to put him at fullback or something like that.
I did that in my Madden football game, and he was ranked so high and then got signed to a different team with like a multi-million-dollar contract. I'm like, but Jordan Mailata is doing what we expect a player like Andre Dillard, a first-round pick, to do. He's doing what we expected a Jason Peters, an all-pro Hall of Fame left tackle, to do. And he is and was a project player. At some point, we got to stop saying, hey, he's a rugby player turned football player. No, dude's a football player.
And he's 23.
Dude, I've said it on the show. I don't know how many times you guys watched the show, but I wrote him off before last season. I wrote him off. I wrote him off this year, last season.
I wrote him off in camp.
I was wrong. What?
I wrote him off in camp this year, and he's done.
Yeah. I said at middle of last season, I was like, why is he taking up a roster spot? There's no need for him anymore. You know what I mean? It was a 7th round pick. You can throw the fishing rod in. You could try to get a random steal and all. But
right.
You know, it ran its course. Don't waste the roster spot. But you know what? He's proven me wrong, and I'm willing to admit that because I think we've got a left tackle for the next 10 years.
Well, you do. His name is Andre Dillard, according to the way he was drafted.
Guard.
You know, the primary reason, besides the fact that he was ancient and decaying, we didn't re-sign Jason Peters, was because we had Andre Dillard. The reason why we didn't re-sign Halipuli Valivaitae is because we had Andre Dillard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We didn't need any of these players. And Andre Dillard goes down. So now we're like, exploitive here. What do we do? We'll go back to Jason Peters. And Jason Peters, looked at the field and got hurt. So, again, what do you do? The offensive line has been this most patchwork thing, and we're used to it now in Philadelphia But here comes Jordan Mailata, and hey, put him at left tackle, the most important position on the field, and he's been doing a great job. So come 2021, since we're kind of talking about that a little, who's your starting left tackle?
Hopefully Mailata.
Yeah. Mailata.
I'm going to talk about
one.
I'm going to talk about two players.
Okay.
First off,
great. So you're going to take two players off my list?
No. One's definitely not coming off the list. I was brought on here about being down at the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of my keys for being here. Watching Jalen Reagor, his body type, his build, the way he carries himself, he will be a player. There's no doubt. We hear about Jefferson, and yeah, I get it. He's doing great in not Jefferson. Who am I talking about? In Minnesota.
Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson. I was thinking of Van.
I know.
Jefferson,
I want it.
the other guy. Yeah, no, I didn't want him, but that's beside. But Reagor, he's got. You ever just see a player? He's got it. He has it. You can just see he has it. And I'm really excited to see him in the second half. He might be the second half MVP. But the guy I wanted to bring up about the first half, and he's not an MVP, but he's really done well. Is Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat.
Not on my list.
Yeah, he's turning into that situational pass rusher that you need. Can complement BG, can give him a break. He's why he's got 8 sacks, because BG can get off the field. And he's a little bit more of what Derek Barnett is supposed to be.
Right.
Sweat is tenacious. He's got a little nasty in him.
And he's playing better than Jadeveon Clowney.
He
that a lot of
actually
people
is.
compared him to.
Okay.
Yeah. The knee was his issue. Was it going to be healthy? He's cheap, and he's there. So just watch him in the second half as well.
All right, so I'm going to throw. All right, so first off, the one name that I'm going to say is my surprise of the first half is also my disappointment, but we're not even going to talk about him. I thought someone was going to say their surprise was Carson Wentz for how bad he played.
You flipped it. Okay, you flipped it. I got it.
So, I also had Jordan Mailata written down. I also had Brandon Graham written down. I also had Alex Singleton written down. So we're going to go a different one. I'm not going to get much into it because it's your backup tight end, Richard Rodgers. The guy is fourth in the team in receptions right now. Yeah. Imagine that. Your third string tight end is fourth in receptions right now on your team. And it says how bad your team is receiving wise. But on the flip side of the equation, every time Carson Wentz goes to him, he catches the ball.
Right.
I haven't looked up how many drops he has on the season, but I cannot recall a moment when there was a ball put on him that he dropped. So he only has 15 catches in his limited playing time, but he's fourth in the team in catches, and he literally catches everything. And I love to see that out of a guy. He's a fringe roster player that is making the most. I mean, we could have said the same thing about Travis Fulgham, a fringe roster player. But Richard Rodgers has made the most of his opportunity, and probably next year, someone else, if the Eagles get rid of Zach Ertz in the offseason, they'll probably keep him. But if not, he's going to get a job somewhere else next year, and he's going to get an opportunity to play week in and week out because he's showing he can catch the ball.
Right.
Absolutely every time it's thrown to him. So that's where I'm going to throw.
No, that's a good one. He's been showing you he can contribute on the offense when you need him to, especially when you have your tight ends that are hurt. But looking into the second half, what do you guys think the final record with the rest of the slated games, kind of like what they like to call it, the murderer's row after the Giants in Cleveland that you got? What do you guys have as your final prediction for what the record is going to be, and if they finish in first place and make the playoffs?
I'm just going to say that they are lucky that they have still 3 games of NFC East opponents. Yeah, because without that, if they front loaded the NFC East schedule, we'd be in some trouble. I have them finishing 7-8-1. I have them beating the Giants, Arizona, Dallas, and Washington. I have them losing 4 in a row to the Browns, Hawks, Seahawks, Packers, and New Orleans. And again, there's the thing that's most disappointing to me is there's no such thing as a winnable game right now. There's no such thing as a sure win because this team has consistently played just below the level of their opponent. Phil, you said earlier on, you're like, oh, well, they're going to beat either the Steelers or the Ravens. And they were in both of those games because they knew they were playing against good teams, so they played up to that level, but just below. Well, now they're going against Dallas this week, and Dallas is a straight dumpster fire of a garbage team, and they played just below the level.
Mm-hmm.
They played Washington, just below the level. Consistently, just below the level of the team. Not planning to dominate a team. And that goes back to coaching and preparation and all those things. So I have them at 7-8-1. But who knows? They could win all of the games. They could lose all the games. The most frustrating thing is we can't figure out what team is going to show up every week.
And neither can the coaching staff or Doug.
Correct.
All right, Chris, what do you got? I'm finishing that, Chris.
Now, here's when you said you thought they were going to win one of the two between Pittsburgh and Baltimore. That's the way I feel about New Orleans and Seattle.
Okay.
They're going to win one of those two. Seattle's defense is dreadful. And also, back to the stadium, it was the windiest I've ever seen it at the Link, by the way, this past Sunday. So I don't know if that played into them just not scoring. They should have been running the ball more. But the Link was weird on that Sunday with that weather. So I'm actually going to say 8-7-1. I think they are. I'm going to go 8-7-1 because they are going to get one of those two. They're due to beat Seattle. It's just been a while. I just feel it in my bones that they're just due to beat Seattle. And maybe New Orleans isn't.
What's that fifth game you have them winning then?
What's that?
What's the fifth game you have them winning then? Now, so you have them winning one of those, and obviously the NFC East games.
Right. Cleveland.
You have them beating Cleveland.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cleveland's a dumpster fire.
But they're not. See, so Cleveland is the same problem we have. Cleveland, it depends on which team shows up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which Baker shows up.
Which Baker shows up.
But now without OBJ, I would say
no OBJ and no Nick Chubb for how long? I'm not sure if Nick Chubb's going to be back for the Eagles game or not. But if he's not and no OBJ, yeah. I mean, I'm actually with Chris. I mean, I could easily see them winning 8 games still this year. So I got them winning the 3 divisional games. Mm-hmm. I've got them beating Cleveland. Okay, so that's 4. And I got them winning either Seattle, the Saints, or the Cardinals. I definitely think they could beat the Cardinals. And I think they could even win one of both. So that could be even – so it's a 1, 2, 3. The Browns is 4. I could even see them winning 6 games out of the rest of the season. I'm overly optimistic. I'm always the power of positivity. I can even see them winning 6 games this year. 6 more games this year.
You know what? I already stole your humor thing. I'll tell you what. I'm going to one-up you. They're going to win out, and they're going to win the Super Bowl. So there we go.
What I was going to follow that up with is I can also see them only getting 2 more wins this year.
Right.
So that's where I'm going to go 8-7-1 like Chris, but it would not surprise me if they only win 5 games total this entire year.
Yeah. So
and win the division.
And win the division, yeah.
That's a given.
I'm kind of on with Phil and Chris. I have them finishing 8-7-1. I'm a little more positive. Jeff knows it. He's known me for a long time. I'm maybe sometimes too positive, but
you're a homer. Let's just be real.
But
dude, remember, I have them. I'm the homer. I placed a bet on them making the Super Bowl this year on the opening show. All right, I got the money on them playing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Nobody else put their money there.
You're a homer. They sent me to the Super Bowl. You think I'm not a homer?
That was a good year to go to the Super Bowl.
Dude, you have no idea.
If I got that Super Bowl ticket, I would have had that up on eBay in 30 seconds.
Wasn't allowed.
What?
Did you? I would say. Did they pick you regardless if the Eagles went? It was like one of those things where they send a season ticket holder from each team, or
every team. I'll show you something.
Yeah. I remember the story, but I just didn't know if it was one of those things where they sent you because the Eagles are doing good or what. But that's pretty cool.
There is every season ticket holder on the field before the Super Bowl.
That's awesome.
That's a great picture. I love that.
That's really cool.
I was going regardless.
Looks like you got a lot of good stuff behind you. We might need to do a zoom in one day on all your pictures behind you.
That jersey this jersey right here, that's behind me. It's the Super Bowl 52 jersey. Was every NFL franchise gave their season ticket holder a Super Bowl 52 jersey. So there's a Dallas one, there's a Cincinnati one.
Dallas comes to the Super Bowl.
What was that?
Did Graham sign it when he gave it to you?
Yeah.
That's good.
He actually signed my Carson Wentz jersey that I had with me. That's right here.
Oh, okay. There you go.
He sprained his wrist doing it and got in the injured reserve.
Yeah.
I will say, if any of that stuff's for sale, Johnny and Jeff, they have deep pockets. They'll buy that autographed stuff really quick for $1 from you.
There's some
I won't.
There's some unique stuff in here, by the way. There really
But
is.
to go off of what I was saying before, like I agree with Chris. I feel like Seattle, New Orleans. I've been winning New Orleans, but I understand where he's coming from with Seattle. Seattle's defense has issues. All these teams. Green Bay has issues against the run. We saw it last year when we played them. And who's Aaron Rodgers? I understand it's Aaron Rodgers. I understand they're a very, very, very talented team. But they said the Eagles could wind up losing, a lot of these games. They could lose 6 of these games. So you really don't know. But I have them winning against the NFC East teams, New Orleans and Cleveland. You just don't know. But I've finished 8-7-1 in first place with at the 4th seed.
Am I gonna be the Debbie Downer of this group?
Yeah.
That's what you are.
Grumpy pants.
I'm sorry, but I only have them winning the rest of the NFC East games at this moment until this team can prove to me that they can put 4 quarters of football and that Carson Wentz can play at their level consistently the way that we expect him to. Because you look at the schedule, the NFC East matchups, but on the road against Cleveland, which I would say I feel is a winnable game, just the way that the Browns are built right now and with their injury issues. But you look at Seattle, you look at Green Bay, you look at New Orleans, you look at Arizona. Those are all teams that know how to put up points. Those are all decent offenses, and I just don't see this team right now unless they prove me wrong and Carson, like I said, can play up to his potential. I would say I just don't see this team playing or competing in shootouts and with these teams.
Right.
So
and to piggyback on that, because you make a really good point. You look at these teams, and number one, most of them have really good quarterbacks, and they have players they can throw the ball to, right? So I look just a pinpoint on the Seattle game. Who is stopping DK Metcalf on our defense?
And Tyler Lockett. They have one of the best tandems in the league.
Yeah. I mean, one catch, Lockett had 15 catches 2 weeks ago. This week, DK Metcalf had 12. Right. One of them will get shut down. One of them's going to go off.
When we play Arizona, you have DeAndre Hopkins and Larry Fitzgerald, plus Kyler Murray, who can run at a moment's notice. You got – I know Larry Fitzgerald is old, but the fact of the matter is
I don't think
he can still catch the ball.
But has anyone said they're going to beat Arizona? Did anyone pick them?
I said they're going to beat Arizona.
Okay.
They did, yeah.
Before the season, I thought they'd beat Arizona, too. I was Arizona and Kyler Murray and the Buffalo and Josh Allen. I've been wrong on them both, it seems like, most of the year. But I was not buying into the hype train of those 2 teams and quarterbacks to start this season even. So
yeah, as I'm going 6-7-1, I feel that Week 17 game at the link is what's going to decide the division between the Eagles and the football team. So
don't say Redskins.
Make sure when you're down there, Chris, you give them some hell for that home field advantage. I still have.
Before we go any further, I do want to play. We got a video from our before the season hype of some predictions that the 3 of us made. So I want to play them and just see how wrong we were at the start of the season.
Bad.
Yeah, this is really bad. These are all non-Eagles predictions, but we just want to.
This is like when you look at your middle school photos and you're like, "Oh,
it's when someone pulls that high school tweet out that you made that you were too immature about, and then you're an NFL player. Yeah, it's kind of like that.
There was Twitter.
I'm not buying the Steelers hype either this year. Ben Roethlisberger coming back from injury. Juju barely played the last couple of years. James Conner barely played last year. I don't buy that offense. I mean, they might be better than the worst offense in the league last year, but outside of that, I don't buy them being that good. I'm all over the Cam hype.
Hey, I'll say he has a great coach. I'll say to finally teach him. So I'll say Belichick always finds ways to get the best from players that have been around this league. So I would say no doubt in Cam Newton. I would say he's probably I'm right there with you. I would say he was my comeback player of the year as well. And then also Belichick was my coach of the year.
San Fran, Arizona. I have Seattle finishing 3rd.
Yeah, Steelers are 7-0. Seattle's in first place, and Cam and Belichick are not winning any of those awards, guys. Nope. I think we are all wrong. I will say though, on my pick, because I'm prepared to defend my pick. The Steelers are 7-0, but they beat the Giants, the Broncos, the Texans, the Eagles, and the Browns as 5 of those games. And their offense is 25th ranked in yards per game and yards per play. Just to defend my picks. You guys can defend your calls.
I'll defend mine too. I'll defend mine too. Yes, Seattle's in first place, but they can finish in third place because the Cardinals are 5-2, the Rams are 5-3. They still can finish in third place. So
but probably 3 or possibly all 4 of those teams can make the playoffs with the extra
Right.
wild card team. So it's not like that really matters too terribly much.
Well, how are you going to defend your picks,
I was
Jeff?
about to say,
Yeah, how you gonna
Cam,
defend
what you
yours?
got?
Mine was a dumpster fire. There's no denying that. So.
Hey, just like I placed a bet on the Eagles in the Super Bowl, I also placed a bet on Cam Newton winning MVP. I couldn't pass up 66-1 on that. So I had to place a couple shekels on it. So I'm right there with you on that. I think Johnny purposely edited that so that my voice supporting your opinion was in there too.
If you look at Cam Newton early on, though, he was doing a decent job. So you had to feel pretty good for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. I just sold off his autograph before he started plummeting. Just freaking cashed in on that payday. Now it's worth pennies.
Dude, when I saw that 66-1 Cam Newton MVP and him going to Bill Belichick and the Patriots, I'm like, dude, that's a gold mine right there. Let me make that bet. I just put a couple bucks on it, but heck.
Well, yeah, going into the season, you didn't know if he was actually going to have the starting job. It was him and Stidham.
I knew Stidham was a joke, so I knew if he didn't have it, he'd get it eventually. So
yeah.
But I want to also say, talking about odds and betting and stuff like that, make sure you check out Phil's fantasy show with our writers Jason Sullivan and Josh Gamble on Thursday nights, 8:30. So I wanted to make sure I plugged that, get you guys.
we'll be back tomorrow night, 8:30.
Exactly. Get all your information that you need. I used some of the information this weekend. I know Phil's been using it, so it's great knowledge from all the guys.
You might not have a game to compete with tomorrow, depending if they freaking move it now.
They're saying they're playing.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're saying
I saw that too.
Did anyone else see that Josh McCown is no longer available to us?
Yeah, that's a random little side note. He's now the Texans' backup quarterback.
Well, he's living in Texas, so now I would say if he does have to go to a game, he doesn't have to travel too terribly far.
Well, which here's the funny thing about that. The Texans signed him because he's living in Dallas. It's convenient, whatever. What were the Cowboys doing? Was there like a side deal with the Eagles? Like, yo, Josh, don't sign with the Cowboys, but anything else you do, it's okay.
I was kind of thinking, did he kind of do us a little dirty? They gave him $200,000 to sit at home and do nothing, and he goes and signs with Houston. Kind of just a little dirty. I thought he should just stayed on the practice squad.
I would do the same thing if the Eagles were paying me $200,000, and then someone was like, "Hey, come sit on this bench and get a better view." I'd be like, "All right, cool." I
don't know. I would love to be a practice squad player. I could sit on a bench and do nothing all week long. That'd be like a dream job, right?
I would like to be a practice squad player on any team other than the Eagles.
Yeah,
as a practice squad player in the Eagles, you're expected to contribute that season.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
That is very true. But we can get into we like to do some locks. We call them the Ulecka Locks. So we picked 3 games, and I don't know if anyone, Jeff, do you got the numbers from last week?
I don't have them up. You guys go. I didn't do any of that. I will put it up in the article tomorrow.
Okay.
I know in our regular picks of the week, I did awful last week.
I did awful.
I had like 7 picks right last week, not counting the spread. So it was
my
betting account shows how bad I was at picking games last week. So,
but
yeah, I bet games straight across. I'm not smart enough to understand all the betting stuff, but I did 8 and 6 last week, just straight picking games. So second straight week of that.
Yeah, not good.
But talk about the locks. Phil, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I've got 3 locks. Now I'm going to preface. I've got actually 4 locks because I picked a backup because I have the Packers as one of my locks of the week, but I have a backup in case they decide last second to cancel that game. So my locks of the week, I'm going to start with Pittsburgh. 13.5 points against the Cowboys. They're favored. And it's not just because they're going up against the Cowboys. They are 7-1 against the spread this year. So even though that 13.5 is a big number, the Cowboys have no idea who they're starting, and the Steelers always cover the spread. I'm going Cowboys covering the 13.5 points. I got the Cardinals going against, I can't read the Dolphins. The Cardinals are going to win. 3.5 points are favored by. I'm picking that as a lock. The Dolphins, they won last week, but that was all defense. And the Dolphins going East Coast to West Coast. I love that it's a 3.5 point line. Tua did nothing last week, so I got that. Then I got the Packers covering the 7 points tomorrow night against the 49ers. The 49ers have about 75 players on injured reserve. They got another 75 players that are on the COVID list. So who knows who's playing tomorrow night? If they don't play that game, my backup pick, just so it's in lock, is I got Washington covering the 3 points against the Giants. This is the first time all year I'm taking 3 favorites. I always pick an underdog. I don't like any of the underdogs this week.
So I did the same thing as you, Phil. I have a backup because I did pick Green Bay as well.
It's almost like an easy pick at 7 points taking the Packers, isn't it? It just seems so obvious.
So I have the Packers, but if that game winds up being canceled or whatever, or moved, whatever, that is not on, I'm going to pick Minnesota. It's a pick 'em. Minnesota and Detroit. So I'm going Minnesota on that. I picked the Pittsburgh and Dallas game, but I went the other way. I think Pittsburgh's going to win by over 2 touchdowns. I think they're going to blow the Cowboys out. Oh, you did? I thought you picked Dallas.
No, I said the Pittsburgh's covered the spread. They're 7-1 against the spread, so I would never pick against a team that's 7-1.
Yeah, I'm going Pittsburgh. I think they're going to blow Dallas out. And then I have the Giants plus 2.5. I feel the Giants defense. I feel like they're gonna win. They're playing Washington. Washington's not that good of a football team either. They're both bad teams, but I feel like Giants defense will be able to hold enough that they may be able to get some points and score. So I have the Giants at plus 2.5 on that.
So first off, before Jeff goes, I do got to say we've got to come to an agreement on a site to pick our games from.
Yeah, because all these lines are
the numbers I've got for the pick games you just picked are totally different and everything. So yeah, we got to come to an agreement because I would love extra points on my picks.
Why don't we have Phil send us, Jeff and I, the actual what you use, and we'll just go off of that.
Yeah. Who are the Vikings even playing? I don't even have the Vikings on my thing right now.
Lions.
Who?
Yeah. Lions.
For my 3, real quick, Ravens minus 2.5 over the Colts. I just feel they're going to rebound from that loss to the Steelers last week. So I feel the line, even though they're on the road, I would say should favor the Ravens, Lamar in that offense. Chiefs 10.5 minus 10.5 over. I didn't write any of this. Panthers. That's right. I would say even though Matt Rule's been changing that team around, I would say Teddy Bridgewater's been playing well for them. Patrick Mahomes in that offense is just going to put up too many points. I'm surprised they didn't put up more points last week against the Jets. They screwed up my pick last week with that line when I went with the Jets plus 20.5. So I will go with the Jets Chiefs minus 10.5 over the Panthers, and then I'm the same with Phil. Cardinals minus 4 over the Dolphins.
Yeah, we got to come to an agreement on these lines because our lines are all over the place. I use FanDuel because that's where my money is. So
I'm on the lines.com and I just chose the first line, which is DraftKings.
And when you said the Vikings were playing the Lions, I do remember that. But FanDuel Sportsbook, I don't know what's going on, but FanDuel Sportsbook has pulled the Lions game off their spread.
Oh shit!
It's not. I just looked because I couldn't remember the Lions Vikings game. I just looked on my phone. It is not an available game to bet on right now. So I wonder if there's something happening in that game. You might need a backup for that game there too. Just so you know, it's not there. I'm going through it. I refreshed it 3 times. It is not a game you can bet.
Well, if it gets canceled, I'll put a backup in. But we all finished. All 3 of us finished 1 and 2 last week. So not very.
My
good.
bank account shows that.
But I want to thank Chip and Chris for coming on. You can follow Chip at Chip for the Birds, and you can follow Chris at ChrisRome731 on Twitter. They're giving great content to the site. We appreciate it with everything they're doing. I want to thank also Last Out Media, Heat Ratio Sports, and Athletes Hub as well, supporters of the show and everything. I want to give them a shout out. I'm going to give everyone who's listening, commented, who follows us on all our platforms. We appreciate that. We're really nowhere without anybody. We're just a bunch of guys talking about the Eagles. It's just
a bunch of guys and one guy that bashes Greg Ward. That's all it is.
Exactly.
Make sure you go to AAT Birds /shop. A lot of new products up there, including the new Rager Bomb shirt. Monte Rager reached out to us. He's going to be representing that shirt. So if you want to get yours today, make sure to go to the site. Plenty of sizes and colors to choose from. So go on there.
I've given Johnny a couple ideas for the next couple shirts. So you all need to make sure you're checking that site out regularly because there's new designs dropping every week.
And one other tidbit, next show Wednesday we're breaking down the Giants, and we should
are you releasing this information?
Is this confirmed?
Is this confirmed?
It's confirmed.
This is breaking news. Do we have like a breaking news like sound effect?
I don't have that. I'll do.
Jeff's gonna press the. Jeff's gonna press the wrong button. Jeff's gonna press the wrong button.
If this doesn't come through, we're coming for your head, Johnny.
Yeah, you better have this locked up if this is happening next week, because this is like a dream interview for me next week.
So we have Derek Gunn going to be coming on to be able to talk some Eagles, Giants. So it's going to be a good breakdown show next Wednesday. So make sure you tune into that and bring all your questions and comments, everything. And with that, how we always end each show, go Birds.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.